What's up everyone, I'm Andrea, your real life English fluency coach, and in today's lesson we are talking all about how to think in English and stop translating in your head. So you might think to yourself, what's the problem with translating in your head? Well, apart from the fact that it's going to take very long to communicate your response to someone, it can be very, very stressful. You're going to put yourself in a situation where you're putting your brain under a lot of unnecessary stress, and it's going to be working overtime to try and translate what's being said to you, but also to then translate what you want to say. So if you're having a conversation with someone, you're already trying to understand what they're saying to you. So you're translating that information. And then while they're talking, you're then thinking of your response. And if you're thinking in your native language, you're actually going to then have to translate what you are thinking into English. Now, this takes a lot of time. And by the time you respond, you're probably going to be quite flustered. You're probably going to be a bit frustrated with how long it's taking you to respond, and the person that you're speaking to might not be very patient. So in today's lesson, I'm going to be giving you some great tips on how to think in English and stop translating in your head so that you can speak more fluently, naturally, and without stress, without getting frustrated at yourself, and also without taking too much time to respond to someone. In case you're new here, I want to let you know that we are here to guide you beyond the classroom, to live and learn and speak English in the real world. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell down below so that you don't miss any of our new lessons. So before we get into all the practical elements of what you can do to start thinking in English, there's some really important information that I would like to share with you. The key to language fluency and thinking in a foreign language is to get rid of the perception that it has to be perfect. Aiming for perfection could lead you to what experts call perfection paralysis. So you might be listening to this and start thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds a little bit like me. When I speak, I want everything to be perfect, and then I freeze and I cannot communicate and I cannot speak. So this is really important to think about when we are working through the lesson and all the practical things that you can do to stop translating in your head and start thinking in English. You need to stop thinking about being perfect, and you just need to start thinking about communicating effectively. And this is really going to help you in your English language journey so that you can start communicating more effectively and more naturally. So the first thing that you can do to start thinking in English is to start with simple vocabulary. Now, you can start this right now. Have a look around the room that you're in and start naming objects in your head so you can think about the objects and just start thinking about the name of them. And if you don't know the name of them, you can write it down and check it later. This is a great way to start thinking in English. So just take a few seconds now, have a look around the room that you're in and just spot some different things and think in English. What is the name of that object? This is a great starting point because if you think about the way that babies and children learn, is that they start by being immersed in the language just by absorbing all of this vocabulary. They don't ever need to translate their first language because they just learn it from scratch without having to translate anything in their head. And studies have shown that this could also be true for second language learners. So even if you're much older and you're learning English later on in life, you actually don't need to translate everything to learn the language if you take this approach. If you think about a small child, what happens is they repeat the words a lot. So they start repeating all the vocabulary that they're learning. Many times they're practicing using it. So this is what you should do as well. All it takes is 5 minutes a day to look around the room that you're in, or you may be outside somewhere, and think in English. Start naming the objects in your head. And this is a great practice to develop thinking in English, but also remembering vocabulary. Now, if you do struggle to learn vocabulary, Ethan created a great lesson recently on how to remember vocabulary, so you can click up here or in the description box below to watch that lesson later on. By thinking of these words in English, you are less likely to have to translate them in your head because your first thought when you see this object will be in English. So I highly recommend that you try this. So while you're doing this, there are many other things that you can practice, not only learning new vocabulary, but you can also practice pronunciation as well.
Window, curtain, curtain.
If you come across some objects that you don't know the word in English, then I highly recommend that first you practice describing this object in a different way, still in English, because this is a really useful tool for fluency. And also what you can do is you can keep a little book with you or a little journal or diary, and you can note down the word in your native language, and then you can ask your teacher or you can look up the word later. Now, this can be really useful because you're going to have a bank of vocabulary, new vocabulary that you can learn and that you can keep practicing. And once you know the word in English, whenever you see that object, you can start identifying it in English, thinking about that object in English as well. If you'd like a bit more structure and guidance to progress on your English language journey, then I highly recommend our Real Life Native Immersion course, which will take you on a 41-week real life English language adventure. Each week you'll explore a different topic related to our goal to help you understand and use real native English and making it a permanent part of your life. And the best part is you can try it right now for free with our 3-part Power Learning series. All you have to do is click up here or in the description box below to learn more and sign up now. I highly recommend it. So after starting with simple vocabulary, you can then move on to simple sentences. So what I recommend you do is to start thinking and start narrating what you are doing. So say for example you are doing your laundry at home, you can start thinking about the process. You can start thinking about what you're doing. If you're separating the colors, if you then start putting the clothes into the machine, you can actually narrate what you are doing.
Time to relax. This sofa's so comfy. Oh, I love this cushion. Cozy.
You could even do this while you're walking down the street. You can make observations on the things that you're seeing, and it doesn't have to be very elaborate and super descriptive. You can start off with simple sentences. It's just a great way again to train your brain to start thinking in English.
It's so hot today. Did I remember to put sun cream on? I didn't bring any water out with me. Maybe I should go and buy some. The roads are quiet today. This taxi driver is driving really fast. There's not many people out.
A great way to build on narrating what you are doing in English is to have small conversations with yourself. Now, this might sound a bit strange to you to begin with, but it's a really great way to prepare for when you go out in the real world and you start having conversations with people. If you think about a really successful athlete, what do they have to do before they go out and perform in a race or a competition? They practice, they repeat what they do constantly to perfect it, so you can do the same.
Oh gosh, it's so hot today. Oh, that breeze feels nice. I'm sure we said that we were going to meet at 4 o'clock. I wonder where Ethan is.
You could even look at it as a performance. So you're preparing for when you go out on the stage to actually speak English in the real world. It's a great way to prepare, and it can really build your confidence as well. If you are interested in building your confidence and having a different way of thinking about your English language journey, we did a great lesson over on Learn English with TV series with Cristiano Ronaldo, who is also an English language learner. And there are many things that we can learn from him when learning a language. So if you're interested in watching that, I highly recommend it. You can click up here or in the description box below to watch it straight after this lesson. With this one, you can even create a script to fully prepare for a situation that you're going to be in. So to fully prepare for this, what you can do is write a script and actually practice it. That way, when you do go out and you start speaking in English, you're already fully prepared. You have memorized some things, you have vocabulary, you've already kind of experienced it in a way, and so it's not a completely new situation or scenario for you. It could also really be useful to actually think of questions and answers in your head. So you can even have this conversation with yourself. You can ask questions. You could imagine you're speaking to a friend and you'd be saying the questions and then giving the answers as well. And it's just another way to prepare for when you are actually doing this in the real world. There are so many ways that you can do this. You can do it when you take your dog for a walk. You can do it when you're in the shower. Literally when you're doing anything that doesn't require you to think too much, so that the focus is on thinking in English. It's astonishing, but the brain cannot tell the difference between real and imagined action. In fact, in one study, the brain actually sent the same signal to the legs when someone imagined running at the same time as when they did actually run. So what this tells us is that the brain doesn't distinguish between visualization and between the real thing. So if you practice this beforehand, your brain's going to be sending the same signals as when you are really in that situation and actually having a conversation with somebody. Another great way to start thinking in English that you can start doing right now is to change just one of your life things into English. So for example, this could be changing the language on your laptop or changing the language on your phone, even changing your calendar. You could start journaling in English if you wanted to, or you could even change one social media app to English. So here you have a lot of options and you only have to start with one thing, and then later on you can start to build from this as you get more confident and more comfortable with it.
Okay, so let's write the shopping list so that I don't forget anything today. What do we need? Okay, we need bread, milk, eggs, bananas. Maybe I'll make aubergine parm. Yeah, we'll get some aubergines, mozzarella, tomatoes. Great.
When I first moved to Barcelona and I went to visit my school for the first time and then started working there, it wasn't so tech savvy. And by that, I mean that the technology wasn't really advanced or wasn't really up to date, to be honest. And so in my classroom, I had a computer where I wasn't even able to change the language into English. Now, this forced me, obviously, to have to learn how to use this computer in Spanish. But what was great about it was that I learned so much vocabulary related to the use of a computer in Spanish. And when I was thinking about what I was doing and trying to find documents or showing people something on my computer, I was thinking of these words in Spanish, not in English, because I associated my experience and all the vocabulary related to this in Spanish first. So this is something that I really recommend. I've experienced too, and it really works. So I highly recommend you just change one of your life things. And then once you do that, you're going to find that you're going to want to change quite a lot of others as well. Once you get comfortable with these things as well, another great tool is to Google information in English, especially if you're learning something new. Because like me with the computer, if you're Googling information in English, then you're more likely to think about that information in English. So it's just another way of training your brain to think in English without translating in your head. Not only this, but a great bonus is the fact that most of the information on the web, really great sources of information, are in English. So you're going to maybe find some better or just a more range of vocabulary and information on the topic that you are researching. Okay, so my next tip might seem like an obvious one, but it's so important, so it has to be in this lesson, and that is to listen to English as much as possible. The great news is that there are so many ways that you can do this with all of the resources available to you right now. You can start by listening to the radio, you can listen to your favorite song, and you can actually sit down and think of the words and start to write the words down so that you can learn the words to one of your favorite songs. Then you're going to start thinking of the words in English and then singing it. And so it can be something really fun and a fun way to practice thinking in English. You can listen to podcasts, and a great way to start with this is with the RealLife English podcast, where we have so many great lessons for you to learn English in a fun, natural and convenient way. So I'll put that link down in the description box below so that you can check that out later if you haven't already. So my next tip for you is to choose one new thing to learn in English. Now this can be really fun because you should choose something that you've really been wanting to learn for a while. What I recommend you do is that you only watch videos, only read instructions, only read information about this one new thing that you are learning in English. Now, this could be anything. It could be learning a new recipe, trying a new hairstyle, so learning about that before you do it, or a dance class or some sort of sports activity. You could even learn to draw in English. So what you need to do is make sure that the information that you are watching or reading about it is in English only. And this is key in thinking in English, because if you do this, the only reference that your brain will have is in English, not in your native language. For example, when I first moved here, I really wanted to try Pilates reformer classes, which is Pilates using the equipment, which I hadn't done in England before. So when I started, I had no idea about the body parts in Spanish, the equipment, ways of moving your body or anything. So everything that I learned was in Spanish. I had no choice but to learn it in Spanish because at that time there were no classes like this in English. But also I saw it as a great opportunity to learn more Spanish and immerse myself in the language. So when I think about this exercise or the parts of the body related to different movements, I'm thinking in Spanish because my only reference is Spanish, not English at all. So the same can happen for you. If you learn one new thing in English, then you're only going to be thinking about it in English. So it's a great way again to train your brain and to practice thinking in English. My next great way to help you start thinking in English is to plan and recap your day in English. So this is a great way to get started in the morning when you wake up to start thinking in English. One great way is to have a radio in English as your alarm, because then already you're immersing yourself in the language, so you're more likely to start thinking in English. Or when you're waking up and you're in bed, or you're making your morning coffee or tea, you can start thinking about your day in English. So you can just start thinking about what you have planned that day, what you're going to be doing. And the more that you do this, again, you're going to train your brain to think about this in English. Not only starting your day with English, but also ending it can really lead to great things. You can think about what you did that day, how it went, if you had a good time, or if there's something you would do differently. And that way, the last thing you're doing before you go to sleep is thinking in English too. This could even lead to you dreaming in English, which really could actually happen. So we've learned lots of different ways in how you can start thinking in English and stop translating in your head. But you must remember to do these things consistently and frequently. So you don't have to do everything. You just need to start with one of these things. And you can set yourself a 30-day challenge, because studies show that you need at least 30 days of doing something consistently to make it a habit, to make it part of your routine. So I challenge you to choose one of these things that we've spoken about here today, one of these things that you've learned today that you can start doing now, and you need to practice it every day for 30 days. Then it's more likely to become a habit. Once you've done this, you could then choose another thing and do that for 30 days alongside the first thing that you chose. And then you can keep building on from that, and you'll see how quickly you'll start to think in English more and more. You can even think about including your family or friends in this. Maybe they're going to help you to make you accountable. You might even come up with a rule with your children that in the morning when you eat breakfast together, you speak only in English. You might even have a work colleague who is also learning English, and you can decide together on one of these things that you're going to do, and you can check up on each other as well. So I guarantee you that if you start doing this, you are going to start thinking in English and having to translate in your head much less. I've experienced it myself, and I know that these things work. So I wish you the best of luck. Don't forget to choose just at least one of these things to start doing today. And also don't forget to check out all the amazing resources that we have down in the description box below that are going to help you progress even more in your English language journey. And I'll see you in the next lesson.